why you might not be able to work any harder even though influencers tell you to, and how to fix it. So first of all, we've got to consider the Zeigarnik effect. When we remember information much better when it is in an open loop. So restaurant waiters, for example, remembered information much better when the order was still open. So what prevents us from working hard? How to resolve inner conflicts to work harder. How to resolve inner conflicts is the work that you want to do. With this positioning, I'm attracting top clients. So once I'm working with people, I have plenty of content to talk about. I am patient. I am okay with the fact that I might need another 6 months working for free to be good enough that people are asking me to help them. What have I gained respect for from the people in the group? Positivity, belief, friends and actions, deep voice inflection, taking the action to show up every call and be on time. Exactly. Psychological dynamics like the self-esteem dynamic, people. Life is much more simple and seems more simpler the more I am in a higher energy state and the more I am getting older. So meaningful work and having strong bonds with people and loving yourself. So what are the things I've cleaned up in my life? Egoism, it is all about me. What are my articles all about? Positivity, belief, friends and actions, psychological dynamics. So what is the outcome of it? Making it easy, fast, pain-free. And I'm going towards being a healer and figuring out the human psyche. Making it about creating my conditions to work hard. I'm engineering an environment for me to do well, because here's what I found in decoding human behavior. Oftentimes we want to change a certain kind of behavior. Either we want to do things that we need to do in order to get to where we want to be, or we want to stop doing things that seem to keep happening automatically to us and through us. They just happen again and again and again without us being able to stop that. And so the question here then is, how do we prevent both? How do we prevent that we stop doing the things that we know that we need to do? And how do we actually stop doing the things? How do we stop doing the things that we do instead of doing the things that we do and actually do the things that we need to do? And also, how do we stop doing the things that we don't want to do that lead us on the wrong path into the wrong direction with all of that? So for that, we need to find the cause, the root cause of our behavior. That's what decoding human behavior means. The behavior is a code. It speaks to you. It gives you certain clues. It's kind of life's language. Now, and then you may say, well, that's unfair. Why doesn't life just tell me straight up what it is? But it's like, if you're a man or if you're a woman, have you ever dealt with a woman? And isn't it also beautiful that you can kind of, guess there's kind of beauty in that. So that we get to unveil this mystery of life as we live life. Because if you would have been given it without needing to earn the mystery, the revelation of the mystery of life, then you wouldn't quite so appreciate it when you actually do find it. And so for that's what decoding human behavior is. It's the same with thoughts. Thoughts are pointers. So are our behaviors. They give you clues. They need to be decoded. They kind of speak to you in a symbolic language, these behaviors. And so the question is, why do people suffer? So human suffering comes down to the conditioning of well-being that are not met. So when humans are suffering, they are putting themselves into a position where their needs are not met. Now we can take this several different ways. Firstly, why are the needs there in the first place? Because the life is in imbalance. Life areas are out of balance. Life is balanced. It is like a pendulum that is swinging to the left and to the right and always coming back to the center point called balance. So when you are out of balance for too long, you are forced by life to go back to balance. But because you had too much momentum in one direction, it will swing past the point of balance towards the other extreme. So how do we create balance that meets people's needs and gets them out of suffering? This was basically the Buddha's mission statement, stopping human suffering. And so in order to create balance in our lives, we need to meet all of our needs, and not only meeting them in an attempt to get what we don't have, but to affirm that we already have it, so that we are more inclined to act in a way that is consistent with that belief. Great piece of content. So in order to get into balance in our lives, we need to set up life circumstances that are conducive for meeting our needs. So how do I resolve inner conflicts? In order to resolve inner conflicts, we need to figure out first what the inner conflict is. There can be an inner conflict between values. Values are states that we believe will get us to meeting our human needs. Values are desired states that we have. When values are in conflict, for example, because we got conflicting messages from our parents told us one thing and another parents told us another thing, or they said one thing and acted in a contrary way, that made us get two different messages at the same time, and it confused us. Because we didn't know, do we need to pay attention to one or the other, to the words or to the actions? And usually children then pay attention to the actions. That's why what you say pretty much doesn't matter. It really is important, because children pick up on that. They really do. They can't tell you that they pick up on that, so they can't reflect upon it. They're not conscious of it, but they really do pick that up. So that's why it's not very important what you do with your children. It really isn't. It's like, what the place are you in? And so even if you give them gifts and everything, if you are in a bad place yourself, you've messed it up. So that's the most important thing, that you come home to your children with love and happiness and excitement of wanting to be there. And now is the question, how do I resolve inner conflicts? In order to resolve inner conflicts, we need to figure out first what the inner conflict is. There can be an inner conflict between values. Values and states that we believe will get us to meeting our human needs. Values are desired states that we have. When values are in conflict, for example, because we got conflicting messages from our parents, one parent told us one thing and another parent told us another thing, and made us made us be a different way for different parents, then that can be the root cause of an inner conflict. Exactly. Great piece of content. Exactly. Inner conflicts can be between what we do and what we believe is right and good. So this is an action conflict. There is a conflict between the action that we are taking, and oftentimes on autopilot or involuntarily, and believing. It's a great word. So we go here, vocabulary. Es ist so leicht, so fun and easy. Vocabulary, yay. Disenfranchised. Involuntarily. And believing that we need to take these actions in order to get what we need, or to remain functioning as a human and not fall apart. Oftentimes, they are behaviors that we have learned in the past, are meeting our needs and get us what we want, soothe us, make us feel good, or give us relief. These inner conflicts are able to resolve easily by simply bringing life into balance, so that the behavior that is unwanted, but that we believe that we need to do in order to be well, feel well, get relief, or keep functioning. Exactly, great piece of content. So one self-talk shift that has helped me, shifting from saying I got to I am. I gotta call John back. Instead, I am calling John back. And you can add, I'm calling John back, I'm a masterful communicator, calling John is so easy. It takes 6 seconds to say this. By investing 2 minutes to prepare and saying it 20 times with intensity, I am feeling better about calling John, most likely to get back the 2 minutes time investment on the call, because I'm more likely to get my outcome for the call faster. I feel better making an ask because I feel better about my own attitude towards John, and I bring value to John because he feels valued. So self-talk isn't just casual chatter, it is what directs our focus, changes our emotions, affects our actions, and in so doing defines the trajectory of our lives. And in this way we can literally speak our life into existence. And little by little, lo and behold, step by step, every single day, these actions tend to accumulate until the outcome, after a few years of saying that, is going to be achieved. So for example, I had a thought which sometimes comes in saying, if I had used my time better earlier in my life, I would be further ahead. On the other side, I did try hard and was serious about it. I just had my priorities wrong and I didn't know better, and a stubborn attitude prevented me from making the learning early. So I said to myself, I gotta be empathetic to my younger self, and I immediately shifted to I am empathetic to my younger self. Here's why that is important. Got to be affirms that you are not and puts pressure onto you. Furthermore, it comes from a harsh place and it disempowers you, saying you gotta, but there's a disempowering reason why you're not. The truth is, that doesn't get you too closer to being it. It pushes it further away energetically. Saying I am will bring you into that energy, and then you act consistently. Correcting one thought is worth it. The ROI positive, because every thought leads you into a direction. Every thought builds a pathway. The question is just where towards. So let's build our neural pathways leading to good habits. Let's build our neural pathways leading to good habits. This is great. Great piece of content. I spent 6,000 air miles pre-pandemic to attend Tony Robbins events. Here are the 3K takeaways for solopreneurs. Here is what I struggled with the most in terms of implementation execution. Here's what I saw the most people struggle with in terms of implementation and execution. First, positivity. Positivity is ROI positive. You receive better ideas. You execute ideas with more intensity. You tend to live longer. You tend to understand yourself more. Belief. When you believe, more ideas come into you. When you believe, more ideas come out of you. With belief, you take the right actions. You take actions in the right way. You convince people more effortlessly. You attract people because they sense that you don't need anything from them. You attract people because they want to believe as deeply as you do. Great piece of content. Great piece of content. Benefits of a circle of friends. More emotional equilibrium. When talking things out in your head, they tend to loop. When sharing something with somebody else and they hear you, it permanently leaves you. Practicing social skills. Exactly. This is a great piece of content. Benefits for a circle of friends. When you're talking things out in your head, they leave you. Exactly. Action life changes. Tony Robbins made simple. Incantations plus personal coaching in one single community for free. Tony Robbins made simple. Interventions and personal coaching to clean up your life and get you ready for a prosperous future. Interventions through seminars in Peru. Interventions through coaching. He attempts to give you all because after you're gone, you are gone. Apart from hiring a coach, he has no client aftercare system at all. That is a bit of a weakness. I'm not criticizing him out of any bad intention. I love his work, I really do. But I do identify that the aftercare is missing. So you can come to a seminar and get your interventions at any time of the week. I use the same method that he teaches. He just has more years of experience, but I can get you results just the same. It's the different style, but I can get you the same results because the tools I use are exactly the same. Only with the difference that I have 16 hours per day for the work. That I have 16 hours per day for that work, while he has 100 plus companies to take care of. So if you want personalized attention, you can hire me as a coach. If you want the absolute best in the world, then you gotta go and hire him. The most important lessons that I learned from attending Tony Robbins events were: you have to be positive in order to reach, achieve, and attain your goals. But how do you do this? This is easier said than done. What happens if negativity pulls you back and makes you lost in thought spirals that you don't like, nor do they serve you? You have to believe in yourself in order to achieve. The quality of your life is in direct proportion to the amount of uncertainty that you can comfortably live with. 3. A strong circle of friends is important. If you have it, good. If you don't have it, you are advised to get it. There are many ways to build a strong circle of friends. In the following, I will explain how. Word concision is king. I am writing concisely and to the point. 4. What builds both reputation, your confidence, and your results are the actions that you take day by day in and day out, before you go to sleep and after you wake up. Great piece of content. This is good. This is also very good. Here are the most important lessons that I have learned implementing the learnings from Tony Robbins events that most people miss. That is why they are not successful. I was once in Australia, a date with destiny, and I realized that I would have given everything to just be picked for a personal intervention. I wondered how many people felt the same way, 50%, 25%. Looking into the crowd and at the faces on the screen that the camera went to, I realized that this was a common problem, a common desire. People want to be picked for personal intervention. They would give everything to have their problem be resolved by the master himself. I provide value to my clients at explaining to them the difference between outcome of the article, value that this article brings, helping my clients get to their dream outcome faster. And the dream outcome is feeling good about themselves and implementing all of the learnings from Tony Robbins into their lives, getting faster to their dream outcome, getting easier to his dream outcome. The theme of this article. The theme of this article. That is not at 4 p.m. tomorrow, is it? (11 a.m.). That's great. All right, that's great. All right, that works. All right, forward then. Let's go, let's go. The theme of the article: I spent 6,000 air miles traveling to Tony Robbins' live events pre-pandemic. Here are the most common challenges that people experience when going to a live event and trying to implement the learnings and how to solve those challenges. Value: getting him faster to the dream outcome of implementing the learnings into his life and getting the results. Not feeling like a failure that goes to a seminar and does not take action. Here are the most common challenges that people face when attending a Tony Robbins live event. On one hand, people realize that they cannot implement the learnings that they have made because they came back home and then they have a lot of responsibilities on their hands. Secondly, they don't implement the learnings that they've made because they are in a lower vibrational state, meaning they are negative. Now, why would somebody be negative when they just learned from Tony Robbins that the key to taking action is being in a resourceful state, which means being positive rather than negative? What draws us back into negativity are a number of trauma. What draws us back into negativity is also a lack of belief. This is a great piece of content. This is a great hook. Great story as well. So we learn to celebrate so that you're always going to be a constant winner. You can celebrate about the little things and it's intelligent to do so. You can say, yes, I've brushed my teeth and it took me 3 hours today. Yes, I'm having healthy habits. Yes, I'm taking good care of myself because I deserve it. Oh yes, I've been taking a cold shower today or even a warm shower or whatever. When you do that, you bought the energy of being a constant winner, and then you got more for the things which will get you a much better results, because unless you go for something, you're not going to get the outcome at all. When you feel like a constant winner, you go for it because you know that there's nothing to lose. You were going to win because you were a winner, because you feel like a winner, because you celebrate so much about little things and also shift away from emotions of beating yourself up, negativity and doubt. What are the Tony Robbins quotes that are most helpful? The quality of our lives is in direct proportion to the amount of uncertainty that we can comfortably live with. Tony Robbins implementation, decoding human behavior. We need to understand what drives us. We need to understand what is behind the actions that we take and the inactions. What is preventing us from taking action? Life changes through taking action. I'm finding out what is standing in the way of my client taking action. So the first article, Facebook page. If you want to understand your behavior, why you do the things you don't want to do or avoid the things that you want to do, then look no further. The main issue people face is not understanding what drives their behavior. They see the problems their actions create but fail to grasp the underlying cause. The number one mistake, spending too much time worrying without action or taking actions that don't address the root cause. It shouldn't be this way because there's a better approach. After spending over 20,000 hours in introspection, decoding my own behavior, I found that understanding the why behind your actions is crucial. The better way to get past these hurdles and live the life of your dreams involves a 4-step formula. First, positivity. This cultivates better, more creative solutions and attracts opportunities and supportive people. Second, belief. You must truly believe in your goals. This belief will be contagious and inspire others to support. 3, friends. Build a supportive network that will keep you consistent and prevent the pitfalls of isolation. And 4, action. Ultimately, change happens in the actions. When backed by positivity, belief, and friends, your actions will lead to lasting success. Be better by decoding your behavior while you continue to struggle with the old ways that don't serve you. Great. Great. This is a great piece of content that works. Alright, 3 steps. How would I stop self-sabotage if I was struggling with it? First, identify what you are moving away from. Second, identify what you are moving towards. So, what is likely to happen or occur when you would achieve what you want? What do you think is threatened of getting less attention? What would that mean? Who would get less attention from you if you were to be successful? What would you need to give up in order to be successful? What is the cost of achieving what you want? Is this really what you want? Understanding personal triggers. What would this trigger connected to you mean? What does this emotion mean to you? What does this outcome mean to you? So once you know your map of value and what is important to you in life, you know why you are being triggered, because it threatens either way. You have a potential gain to what you perceive you need. Emotional triggers, relationship triggers, workplace triggers. Relationship triggers are generally speaking about love and connection as well as safety. We feel safe or threatened in our self-perception. The parent figure, based on those models we likely picked our partner, was a source of love and strength for us. Workplace triggers are usually about status, competence, growth, and safety, although a lot of us unconsciously mix in love to the workplace because we tend to see a boss as an authority figure, like our father or our mother, depending who was more influential in terms of who we looked up to more, whose love was most scarce, and in turn, whose love we craved the most. So one important question to ask ourselves growing up, whose love did we crave the most? Because based on the answer of this question, we can infer, number 1, who we want to be. Second, who we feel inspired by. Thirdly, who we must not be. Fourth, whom we despise. And fifth, what qualities we tend to feel attracted to in a partner. So let's break each of these down, shall we? Easy mirror technique. When you wrote the list of things that you like in another human being, what you wrote are the qualities that are in you that you have disidentified with. They're in you, but you don't recognize it because you weren't rewarded for that. Raise your hand if you follow. And the things you wrote down to the people that you don't like, those are the qualities that are in you that you don't want to see. That's why I had you write them down. We attract whatever we disowned. This is life's healing mechanism for us to become whole again. I always attracted artistic people. That was a part that I disowned. A lot of people who are more reserved often attract a partner that is the life of the party. That polarity is attractive to us. So life is guiding us. Life is drawing us energetically towards our disowned parts. Overcoming negative behavior patterns. A lot of us have negative behavior patterns that we deal with. You might ask yourself, why is this happening to me in the first place, and why is this continuing? So here are 3 ways how negative behavior patterns can be changed according to knowing the real reasons behind these behavior patterns. So going about writing an article, keyword research, target audience, unspoken thought pattern research, and how to change negative behavior patterns. Behavioral change strategies. In order to change behavior and make it last, we have to unhook the one behavior that you believe is holding you back. Unhooking means you unhook that which is getting in the way. Unhooking means unhooking the real reason for it. Introspection techniques for entrepreneurs. In order to introspect, we need to understand what we are looking into. Where inside are we looking? Where inside are we looking? And what is the outcome of introspection? The outcome of introspection is self-knowledge, but what does it serve? When we know ourselves, we know our triggers. When we know ourselves, we know what we need in order to work consistently and constantly. When we know ourselves, we can know others. When we know ourselves, we can have compassion for ourselves and others. When we see the place from which we are acting, we can have compassion for ourselves and others. Unless we know the place from which the motivation of our behavior is coming, we cannot have compassion or empathy for others. This is a great piece of content. So what is the outcome of self-knowledge? What does it serve? When we know ourselves, we know our triggers. When we know ourselves, we know what we need to do in order to work consistently and constantly. When we know ourselves, we can know others. When we know ourselves, we can have compassion for ourselves and others. When we see the place from which we are acting, we can have compassion for ourselves and others. Unless we know the place from which the motivation of our behavior is coming, we cannot have compassion or empathy for another person. Emotional intelligence for business owners. One part of emotional intelligence is knowing your own emotions and, more importantly, where they come from. That serves that you are able to perceive the root cause of being triggered. It helps distinguish an emotional response and catching an emotional response, which is important in making rational decisions. Distinguish is a great word, and this is going into the list. Distinguish, disparate, involuntarily, disenfranchised, dissipate, pertain, ramifications. Exactly. So when you have the intelligence to accurately spot emotions from facial expressions, voice inflection, tonality, word choice, and actions or inactions, you can infer emotions or unreleased emotional charges with direct reports, making them aware of what they are not aware of yet within themselves. But the first step to developing the capacity to do so is to see and perceive these emotions within yourself. Exactly. This is a great piece of content. Great piece of content. Okay, within yourself. This will help you see that emotions are nothing to be afraid of. They will help you to also allay the fears of your employees of emotional consequences of actions, which helps you effectively motivate them to take the actions required to grow the business without being held back by the fear of emotional consequences of actions. When you address these emotions within yourself without hesitancy and without fear, it becomes easier. Just as getting on the phone with prospects or vendors used to be hard because of the emotional charge connected to it, now after having done it for years, it is probably easy and goes without a lot of emotional energy expense. Am I right or wrong about that? This will help you also to confront the emotions with direct reports or picking up on emotional cues and delegating the confronting of those emotions to a manager in charge of the team or the partner that this employee belongs to. Emotional control. Emotional control means more than the power to force the way you want to feel, although it must not be forceful all the time. Part of emotional control is to setting up habits and routines that keep you in balance. Eating the right food at the right time to prevent emotional charges is one of many examples. Knowing how and when to exercise, how and when to allow yourself to take breaks, emergency responses, and big emotional events. Self-reflection exercises for leaders. In self-reflection, there is value. Unproductive self-reflection is called pondering or worrying. In order to make self-reflection ROI positive, meaning you make more money in the long term than spending the hours on tasks that make the business money directly. Self-reflection helps you uncover your psychological weaknesses that may entice you to change the course of direction of the business out of fear. So when you self-reflect, you find your shadow side. This allows you to have less fear overall in your life, because most people are afraid of their dark side, their destructive, perverse, violent side that when not embraced and loved will find an outlet. So you don't have a choice, you need to find a way to express these energies. If you don't do it in a healthy and constructive way, you will invariably feel compelled to do so in an unhealthy and destructive way. Repressing these energies will eventually lead to mental fatigue until you give in. That is why it can be seen in a frequent molestation incidents committed by members of the Catholic Church. It is a normal occurrence in the repression. In the same way as a dam will eventually break, even if it takes thousands of years, eventually the repressed energies will break free, even if it takes decades of living life in repression. So what is the cure? making peace with repressed energies, making peace with the fact that we have both light and dark inside of us, and we need both in order to be able to distinguish. In the same way as there's good and bad around us, there's good and bad within us. Pretending that those energies are not there will lead to less and less energies overall and committing horrible acts that are often crimes. How can we express these energies in a healthy way? Well, you can let them out by working out, learning to fight, chopping wood, etc. Self-reflection exercises for leaders. When you're in a leadership position and you notice that by this and that, it is important to self-reflect. So what should be reflected upon? As a leader, you need to reflect upon two things: employees' motivations and needs, and your own decision making. You need to feel and understand your own self in the best possible way. As a leader, you will need to reflect upon your own actions, your one decision making, and what you did well and what you did wrong. As a leader, what you need to reflect upon is the actions that you took, how much time did I spend and allotted towards getting my most important outcomes for this week. As a leader, you need to reflect upon what worked very well and what worked not so well. What you need to do in order to work more effectively and efficiently each day more. As a leader, what you want to reflect upon is the best practices of what you did well and what worked not so well. As a leader, the most important self-reflection is what hours you spend and allotted towards getting the most important outcomes. What needs are the needs of my clients that are fulfilled well, and what are the skills that are not fulfilled well? What have you done well and what have you done not so well that can be improved upon? As a leader, you want to understand your own needs and wounds. What you need to reflect upon is what you are doing in order to meet your needs and what it is that they need from you. Your needs and what it is that they need from you. That's exactly what it is that they truly need and what they absolutely must have from you as a leader. Exactly. So as a leader, what you want to reflect upon is the moments where you lost your temper, the moments where you messed up, although you shouldn't have. Understanding your emotions as a leader. When we want to understand emotions, why do we want to understand emotions? First of all, because it is ROI positive. Overall, you will make more money. Second, it increases your happiness and in so your capacity to make more money. ROI positive. When you are wise about your emotions, you embody a quality that a lot of your employees wish they had. So they look up to you, which leads to less power struggle and better leadership skills. Emotional control is an important outcome why you want to understand your emotions. Am I right? You will be better able to anticipate emotional charges which lead to emotional outbursts. In business, you have a long-term focus. It is better to prevent big fights that are your fault, which takes a lot of energy to repair and make up for. The time and mental energy to review the incident that you could have used to work. The time and mental energy you spent in beating yourself up about the incident. The time and mental energy to think about how you make amends and repair, which you could have used to work. Make amends. This is a great word choice. All right. Making amends. Exactly. All right, cool. Great. The time and mental energy to actually make amends and repair. Friction takes to switch between the adrenaline-laden and fearful state of conflict and concentration of what you need to work on to grow the business. Repressing the immune system, potentially leading to days of sickness and lost productivity. The time it takes to rebuild the relationship to where it was before the incident, lost productivity of that partner or employee. Employees' energy expenditure to spend mental energy reviewing the incident, thinking about why that happened, and resenting you, which will manifest on how the employee talks about you to others. As you see, there are many downsides in erupting and losing emotional control. That's why it is important to prevent emotional outbursts, and the first step to doing so is to understand your emotions.